if you put ketchup on macaroni and cheese, that's not normal.
Welcome to the No Streetlights podcast. This is the most important podcast being made today. We are enemies of the state. Tim, we're wanted men.
Damn. I mean, wanted by society because we're looking to buck the trend, I think. We want to have people come to our show and realize that they're not alone and you can grow. There's a lot of opportunity out there. And I'll be damned if No Streetlights is going to sit to the side and not let people have those tools to allow them to fix whatever the hell they want to fix. We're going to point some stuff out that makes it look like everything around us is broken, but we're going to tell you how to fix it.
Yes, everything in society is working against us. They're trying to shorten our attention spans. They're trying to divide us, but that's not how we get through the shit that we're going through. We have to wake up, realize what's going on around us, and figure out ways to fucking fix it.
Blows my mind, but approximately 20-ish years ago, a little-known band by System of a Down released an album called Toxicity. And guess what? That entire album had a shit ton of music and songs and lyrics on there that probably applied just as much today as it did 20 years ago.
Where? How? Okay. Yeah.
YouTube, Google, Spotify, Apple, I don't fucking know. Just go find the song, go listen to it, and see exactly how it applies to society today, man.
So in all the places we are, you can find Toxicity.
Yeah, 100%.
Another thing that we're really looking to do here is answer your questions.
Yeah.
Because no single one of us has the keys to the kingdom. We each have a piece of the puzzle. So, Tim, do you want to go through some of our fan questions before we get to some of our guest questions?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, preface this here a little bit. We have a community that we've built up around No Streetlights here. As much as we would love every single person who's listening to this to be a part of that community, some of you guys, most of you guys and gals and non-binaries have not reached out to us. But we want to go ahead and address the people who have. And I think we're going to go ahead and start off here with, which one do you want to start with, Aaron?
Let's start with the simpler one.
Okay.
Let's start with Eric's questions for Ben, or question singular, I suppose.
Okay.
So Eric wanted to know how Dr. Ben Green, way back in what was season 2, how his practice differed from a traditional MD's practice, since Ben is a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine by way of kind of herbology and stuff. So as a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, those of us who have seen old kung fu films, sometimes they run into those. And a traditional Chinese medicine doctor is an integral part of the community. In our Western society, medical doctors are removed and hard to have access to. Whereas a traditional Chinese medicine doctor is there with you and is trying to understand all of the lifestyle influences that are affecting your health. And they're going to look at every aspect of your life to determine what needs changed. Not only are they going to give you these natural herbs from Mother Earth herself to try and help get your body chemistry right, they're going to keep up with you. It's not, here are some pills, I'll see you in 6 months. It's, hey, let's try this. See how it affects you. What we've been through, how it changed us, and what we learned, right? Yeah, so Ben likes talking to his patients and, frankly, friends, like twice a month, once a month at the least, to see how things are going. So instead of being this authority way off in the distance, who you rarely get to see or talk to for maybe 10 minutes at a time, and who's going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars per visit, he's there with you. He's checking in with you and really understanding how everything that he's changing is affecting you personally.
I suppose one big thing that would be important to remember here is traditional Chinese medicine does not replace medical care. Like, you don't go see Dr. Ben Green to help cure whatever, advanced stage of cancer you may have.
If your appendix bursts.
Yeah, can like the herbs and stuff he provides assist? Sure. But at the end of the day, like, you can't just ignore the doctor. Like, it's not going to be a personalized experience when you go to the hospital. But, still go see your doctor once a year or twice a year or however often you're supposed to go do it. And then go see your traditional Chinese medicine doctor as frequently as needed. If you're suffering from low libido or, anxiety issues or low energy, those are things that he can 100% provide herbal supplements and things to help with, right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing that up, because one of the main portions of Eric's question was, are you a prescriber? And he's not. He's not an MD. He's a TCM.
Yeah.
Vast world of difference. If you're on our YouTube video, we'll have the video from Ben's response.
Eric asked a question wanting to know how my practice compares to that of an MD and if I can diagnose or prescribe. I'm assuming he means pharmaceuticals on the prescription piece, and the answer to that is a hard no. As far as diagnosis, I can diagnose within the realm of Chinese medicine or traditional Chinese medicine. I cannot do biomedical diagnosis. Now, everything I just stated there depends on state. It depends on your qualifications and credentials and what the state will allow you to do. So that's going to be relative to the state that you're in. As far as how my practice differs from that of an MD's, first of all, I think MDs in general, and again, that's a broad scope. We're painting with broad strokes here. But in general, I think most MDs probably do a lot more volume, and they can spend a lot less time with individual patients than I can because of that. The other thing is I like to see my patients at least once a week or be in contact with them at least once a week. I think that is probably significantly more than most MDs, where your turnaround time or your time for a doctor's visit might be twice every year, something like that. So that's a significant difference there. And then as far as like what we can actually do, MDs have a far wider scope of practice in most places, and they have far more access to other resources or better referral lines, so that can be useful sometimes as well. I've got a level of referrals, but I don't have their level of referrals. And I like the labs and the tests that I can run. The diagnostic portion that I have is not near as extensive as theirs. And then, I have a different level of escalation of force, if you will. So I tend to start with, can I fix this issue with movement? If not, can I fix it with nutrition and movement? Can I fix it with nutrition, movement, supplementation, or herbs? And then if not, do I actually need to do some body work on this person? So that's a very different range of things I can do, and also just a very different approach than most MDs.
And he says, we have our own wheelhouses. I'm here to be integrated into your life, whereas an MD is going to more have those drastic interventions.
I actually was at the doctor's within the past 2 weeks or so. And one of the things the doctor was suggesting was an herbal supplement, right? For whatever the situation was, that I was at the doctor for. And I asked him, I was like, well, is that something that I can just get here? He said, no. Hospitals don't deal in herbal supplements. They deal in, traditional, I guess, medication. Can I get Tylenol from there? Sure. Can I get ashwagandha? No. But if something like ashwagandha is something you're interested in, a person to talk to would be like Dr. Ben Green, because he can go over, this is what ashwagandha does. This is traditionally what I've seen it affect people with, so on and so forth. He's an awesome person who can provide a supplementation to your health. So he's doing the Lord's work out there. Dr. Ben Green, kicking ass, taking names. Traditional Chinese medicine, there's a reason why it's probably the oldest surviving medicine practice out there. So, if it's something that you're interested in, go check it out. Just like what we said about Reiki. If that's something that you're fascinated with, go check that out too. These are all things that you can take and apply to your life in order to change or enhance certain aspects of it. Dr. Ben Green is not going to amputate your foot if you got gangrene. You gotta go see the actual doctor to do that. Not that Ben's not an actual doctor, but terminology wise, you see what I'm saying?
MD versus TCM.
Yeah.
He might amputate your foot, but that's probably going to be as a Kali practitioner, not as a TCM. So yes,
he
Ben
might.
Green is also an amazing martial artist.
Yeah, he's a badass. So let's go ahead and get into our next question here, Aaron. I feel pretty confident in our coverage of that one.
Yep. So again, via our Discord, Eric reached directly out to me and asked if Melissa had encountered gross practices from management while at the Bunny Ranch.
Yeah.
Because he had seen an old cracked article about how the management there was really sleazy. And he wanted to know if there was any validity to that.
Yeah. So we weren't there. We can only get the basic information that was provided to us. I think that is a great question from Eric. And it blows my mind that we have had the opportunity to meet somebody and acquaint ourselves with somebody like Melissa, who has had such a variety of worldly experiences. But to boil it down and to give a simple answer to Eric here, yeah, there was some sleazy higher up echelon personnel working at the Bunny Ranch who had, to the best of my understanding, practices that are not acceptable and would make people very uncomfortable to the point of possibly harassment or maybe assault. I'm not 100% sure again.
And we don't want to get Melissa in any hot water.
Of course. Yeah.
So this is hearsay and old intel.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't go to the court of law with this. But yeah, so that's the rough and dirty of what we have gathered from our conversation. And if anybody from the Bunny Ranch happens to listen to this and they're like, you can take it up with Aaron and I, that's fine. We're not saying that you're a bad company or things are bad. You just may have had a bad history.
And Melissa actually worked at both the Bunny Ranch and the Mustang Ranch. Whenever things got sketchy at the Bunny Ranch and she was uncomfortable with the working environment, she extricated herself from it.
Yeah.
She went over to the Mustang Ranch, which was owned by a lovely human being. And there was a madame there who really cared for the girls and really protected and advocated for them. So if you're in a place that sucks, GTFO, they don't deserve you.
Yeah. It's crazy too, because, that can be applied to pretty much anything. You can find yourself in a place with terrible management, and you can find a place that has great management. A place with bad management, dip out, go find the better place. At least that's my motto. Yeah, great question posed by Eric again. Eric's a very good friend of the show. He's been on an episode. He communicates with us frequently, and he's always on our Facebook. So I love it. I'm happy to see all that time we get to interact with him. Before we jump on to our next portion here, I do want to go ahead and remind all of our listeners and or viewers out there that if you're watching us on one of our platforms, we're probably on a lot more. So check us out on Apple Podcast. We're over there. Check us out on Spotify Podcast. If you use the app, we're over there. If you want to watch us over on YouTube, check us out over there. Go subscribe. We're putting in our reps. We're working our asses off over here. And we need your feedback in order to get better.
As of this day of recording, September 22nd of the year 2024, we have a YouTube video with 50,000 views. We have one with about 11K views. We have a TikTok with over 150,000 views, several in the 40K range, and a few in the 20K range. If you're watching us on YouTube and you've made it this far, just comment interaction, because that's what we need to feed the algorithm. We need you to be interacting with us. We also want to give a massive shout out to our patrons. They are the main driving force behind us keeping this show going.
Yeah.
So, Ketria, Casey, Jake,
Kellyanne, Riley, and Thomas.
I think there's one more free.
Oh, yeah. My friend Allie. Thank you.
So now we want to move on to an issue that a very close friend of ours had in one of our episodes with Jeff Jones from Jeff Jones and Friends Make It Better. Tim, do you remember the issue that our friend had? I don't want to name them because they deal with anxieties and so forth.
Right. Yeah. So in that episode, I made a comment, and it was more or less, if you're not improving, you're backsliding. There is no such thing as maintaining. I've had a little bit of time to kind of like ruminate on the fact that this comment from this episode brought somebody anxiety. And as a person who suffers from chronic anxiety, I can see why a statement like that would be like, hey, am I doing enough now? Now I have to sit there and start, psychoanalyzing and criticizing my day-to-day activities. Like, hey, guess what? Today, I woke up and did damn near the same thing I did yesterday. So am I backsliding? It is a complicated thing for me to answer. One thing about this show is that as Aaron and I are constantly progressing and talking to more and more people and putting out new episodes, we are finding ourselves growing with you guys, the listener. Sometimes we will say stuff that we may not have the same feeling or opinion about at a later time. And it's very likely that somebody could listen to an episode and be like,
hey, do you guys still feel X, Y, and Z about this?
And it's very possible that our opinions have changed. That episode came out like 8 months ago. So maybe I feel differently about it. Maybe I don't feel as strongly as I did. So to our listener who felt this extreme sense of anxiety based off of my statement there, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I stand by that claim. I do. If you aren't improving, you're backsliding and there is no maintaining. As a person going through your day-to-day, right, you don't have to look at yourself as a constantly improving being, right? You wake up, you get ready, you go do your job, you come home, but that doesn't mean you're backsliding as a human being, right? Take, for example, on the more extreme side, and this is what was going through my head, I suffered an issue where I would drink a lot, right? We've talked about it numerous times on this show. I don't need to dig too deeply into it. If you guys want to hear that, please go check it out. But there was a time period where I had felt like I had lowered my alcohol intake to a manageable level, but I stayed there. Instead of focusing on lowering and getting to a point where I was intaking a healthy and safe amount of alcohol, I wasn't, right? I got myself to, instead of drinking a whole bottle, I would drink half a bottle. And I was like, damn, that's really good. I did really good. Shook my own hand, kissed some babies, and I went on my victory lap because I did so damn good. But then 3 months later, of still continuing to drink half a bottle of alcohol, how do you think I felt? I wasn't maintaining anything at that point. I was backsliding because I wasn't improving myself. So that's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. You should be aiming to grow and improve yourself, regardless of what it is you're wanting to improve or enhance or to just change in general. I'm sorry I caused that anxiety, but again, it's going to happen. And I apologize, but I will stand by my words.
And my take on this, and the reason I didn't shop it in the editing bay or talk to Tim more in depth on the episode, is even if you're doing the same thing every day, I want you to be getting better at it. Whenever you have an anxiety attack, a panic attack or what have you, I hope that you're getting the tools from our episodes that Jay Saunders talked about. Get out a pen and paper. Edit your attack. Figure out what's working and what's not. Dive into that iceberg of, here's how I'm feeling. Here's why I'm feeling that way.
Yeah.
Here's how I either fix the problem, or if there's no problem, here's how I rewire my brain to realize there's not an issue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm safe. I'm whole. I'm complete. I'm worthy of love. I can breathe.
Have you watched Demon Slayer yet?
No, everyone's still trying to get me to watch it.
One day you will. To all of our listeners who watch Demon Slayer, think of Zenitsu, right? He knows one form out of his particular fighting style, but he's a damn master of it. He just kept getting better and better every time he did it.
So you don't necessarily need to brush your teeth for 5 extra seconds every day until you're brushing your teeth for 12 hours a day. Or if you're going on a 5-minute walk around your block, you don't need to wear through the pavement.
Mm-hmm.
If every time you go for that walk, you focus on your breathing, you re-engage with your parasympathetic nervous system, you relax. If you're doing the same things, I just want you to get better. That's all I want.
Hell yeah. So I hope that brings a little bit more peace to our wonderful listener. Thank you for posing that question. I hope we have provided something that, kind of calms that anxiety or anxiousness that was brought about with that question or that statement.
So up next, we have some questions from our illustrious guests. The guest who most often gets called the most powerful woman in existence, Melissa, posed this question to us. What can men do on individual, community, and then collective level to create safety and a safer world for women?
This is a hard question. This is a question that I think a lot of people have had on their minds, especially with the Me Too movement and everything that occurred over the past, let's say, decade. Women are finding themselves in a more comfortable environment to express how uncomfortable they are by men. And even men are also able to express this now too, that other men have made them uncomfortable. It's a hard question to answer, I think. And to be quite honest with you, we aren't at the finish line, but I think we're doing a really good job currently to create a safer world. If you're looking for a specific answer, I don't think there is one. I think we can start at taking a look at everybody around us. What are you doing to help the women around you in your life? Are you promulgating these concepts and ideologies that women are, meant to stay at home and be the housewife or whatever? Or are you letting women be who they want to be and allow them to have their own free choice? That's kind of where we need to start.
Yeah, an issue I've been having lately, we surround ourselves with like-minded people.
Mm-hmm.
People who acknowledge that women are equal partners, that are trying to make these cultural shifts and having these hard conversations, and then learning how to listen and understand boundaries, learning how to understand and communicate our feelings so that we don't engage in those externalizing behaviors, and then also confronting their friends whenever they're engaging in unsafe or unacceptable behaviors. But there aren't a whole lot of people inside our 25-meter sphere of influence. And those people are like-minded people. They're people striving for progress. We need to figure out how to reach the rest of the population. And I think, like you said numerous times on the show, it's going to be about education and advocacy. We have a lot of friends who are in the education space who are teaching people how to handle their emotions, set and respect boundaries. And I think you and I need to keep highlighting those voices.
Uh-huh.
It's so easy to confront a stranger who's acting out of pocket. It's much harder to confront someone in your friend group or in your family who's doing something that they don't realize is a problem. So I think that's the next step for each of us individually creating a safer world, is having the hard conversations close to home and looking inside yourself and asking, is this world a safer place because I'm in it? Or am I contributing to the problem? Or standing by and doing nothing?
Yeah.
All it takes for evil to thrive is for a good man to do nothing.
Yeah.
So, are you a bystander? Are you a fucking main character?
Very well put. Very well. I want to reach out to our audience here too. How do you think men on an individual, community, and a collective level create a safety or safer world for women? Okay. All right, everybody. We're not making fun of how I talk here, okay? I know I have a podcast. I'm not the best speaker in the world. Thank you. But yeah, leave a comment below with what you think. These next couple of questions are a lot of fun And I'm really excited for Aaron and I to flex our creativity or lack thereof. I don't know. I do the best I can. So I'm a baby bird you this first question, Aaron. I like this one a lot. When is it appropriate to stand up for what you believe in versus stay silent to not cause conflict? These questions were posed by
Kyle Mintink, our
Kyle. Perfect.
dual degree engineer fellow who's a biomedical engineer.
Fucking genius. One of the many geniuses we've brought on this show. So when is it appropriate to stand up for what you believe in versus stay silent to not cause conflict?
First off, I want to give our audience a second to really think about this. Okay, time's up.
I was going to say, don't let them think too long, Aaron. They may leave.
So I think the key word here is appropriate. And that's going to be situationally dependent, hardcore AF. I know that's a bit of a cop-out, but it's true. If you're in a group setting and one of your subordinates says something out of pocket, that's probably not the correct time and place to confront them. Often you want to handle those sorts of things in private. So later say, "Hey, Gerald, go ahead and step in the office real quick. I want to talk to you about something. Hey man, I didn't appreciate the way that you talked about MA3 Heisenberg. I understand that where you're from, women have a particular set of responsibilities that are different from men. But here in the Navy, all of your shipmates are peers and equals. And I need you to understand that concept and embody it moving forward. If someone is ever challenging your specific boundaries and you feel unsafe, unheard, or not respected, stand up for yourself." A big thing that we need to keep in mind is the informal resolution system, handling things at the lowest level and also at the lowest amplitude. Do you need to have a screaming match at guard mount? No, because no one's listening. You need to sit down, breathe, and connect in order to affect change.
Yeah. I love that you brought the our military experience into this, Aaron, because that's exactly the first place I go to mentally whenever I hear a question like this. How many times have I been in a room where I'm the subordinate and I hear a superior state something that goes completely against my ideology, or at least rubs me the wrong way, right? Is it appropriate for me to just be like, "Hey, face, don't say that," when I'm in a room, in a work environment, right? Probably not. Probably not, at least in that way. Whenever you have to have any kind of conflict with somebody or you have to confront them in any way, shape, or form, there's always going to be a certain level of seriousness you bring to the conversation. I've been hanging out with friends before. You know, I had a friend do something that I didn't like. It wasn't anything big or wasn't anything crazy. It was no friendship ending thing, but they crossed a boundary and I just simply said, "Hey, don't do that." I wasn't a jerk about it. I didn't need to be a jerk about it. It wasn't going to get the point across in any way, shape, or form. But in that moment, it felt appropriate for me to ensure that that boundary was placed. Okay. And then we went about our day. You know, in Aaron's hypothetical here with the screaming match at guard mount, that's probably not an appropriate location to have a conflict with somebody. But sometimes it's going to happen. So if you find yourself in a situation like that, maybe you say something to upset somebody and they decide that this is the place, they're throwing hands. If they come at you at 100, work your hardest at de-escalating the situation and allow you guys to have the room to breathe in order to have that conversation in a more controlled environment. Human beings, we're very social creatures. We read social cues. Be honest with you, this question is a complicated one to answer because everybody's situation is going to be different. I think in order for you to stay as true and genuine to yourself, don't let anybody ever sway your actual standing on a situation. But also just don't be a jerk whenever you try to have these conversations with people. So stand up for what you believe in when it's appropriate.
Our next question from Kyle. he posed, what is normal?
Man. So honestly, there is no such thing as normal, guys. Let's be real. I have Michael Myers tattooed on my hand. Would the person who's completely against tattoos think that's normal? No, they wouldn't. But would another horror enthusiast who has every single original Universal's monster tattooed on them think it's normal? Yeah, they would. It's very subjective. There is no answer. But if you want an answer, I can at least provide some guidelines as to what would be considered abnormal. If you put ketchup on macaroni and cheese, that's not normal. If you eat hamburgers with a lettuce bun, that's not normal. If you go swimming and you wear shoes when you're swimming,
That's not normal.
and if you like the feeling of wet socks, that's not normal. But enough joking. It's very subjective. So I do stand about that ketchup on macaroni.
So for my serious response before I get into the fun stuff like Tim, normal is different from person to person. And your normal should be calm. Your normal should be at peace. If you're not at a normal cortisol level, just the stress hormone, during your day-to-day, there are some things going on in your life that you need to address. So my answer is going to be that normal for you should be at a fairly low arousal state as far as the brain-body connection is concerned.
Oh.
So
Okay.
you shouldn't be sweating and shaking all day. You should be able to breathe. You should be able to engage with your executive functions. You should be able to problem solve. And you should be able to make memories and go back and touch those memories. That's something I'm having trouble with right now because I'm so stressed out. I can't breathe.
Dude, your answer was very erotic there for a little bit. I just want you to know.
Sex is part of life, man.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So for my abnormal, if you don't roll up your sleeves when you wash your hands and you don't mind the cuffs of your shirt getting wet, go heck yourself.
Yeah. Thumbs down on that one, guys. Yeah, very well put. It sounds to me like drinking energy drinks makes people abnormal with the shaking and sweating and being unable to touch their memories or whatever. So stay away from energy drinks, guys. Anyway, let's get down to this final question here, Aaron. I think this one is a really fun one as well. If you were to start a revolution, how would you do it?
So, since I get first dibs on this, we are starting a revolution. And we're doing it here on this podcast.
We're enemies of the state.
Yes. So, the way that we start this revolution is by waking people up, showing people what's going on, showing them that we're not alone, and addressing the things that we find unacceptable.
Yeah.
Revolution is changing the status quo. And that's what we want to do. We don't want things to continue as they are, where people have to work their entire life away. They're stressed out. They feel like breaking down and crying more often than singing and dancing in the rain. This society that we have is no longer working for us. So we have to stand up as the new generation coming into our own and figure out how to fix a bad situation, how to do good with bad.
Yeah. I'm 100% with you on changing the status quo. I'm all about like a peaceful resolution to everything, right?
Yeah.
Society needs changed. It really does. And like-minded individuals, there's a lot of us out there, guys. A lot of us. We all work together. We all work on making sure that the right people get put in our political positions and that the right bills are being passed. You're going to start seeing a lot of changes, but it all starts with us, the everyday person. Okay. So, if you find somebody who has like a little bit of a Jesus complex, consider yourself maybe in a cult. So if I were to start a revolution, I would probably find myself as a music artist, start off making country music, get real famous with that country music, switch over to pop, and then go on a worldwide tour called the Eras Tour. And my name is Taylor Swift, and I would 100% be able to start a revolution with 1 billion people following me. Aha! But in all seriousness, yeah, probably start a podcast. I mean, that's what we're doing here. So how would you guys start a revolution? If we had to, hypothetically take a look at how revolutions have historically started, usually through a small grouping of people reaching out to the masses in any way that they can. Podcasts, YouTube channels, little airplane, strips that fly behind them, however you can. But how would you guys do it? Well, Aaron, I love the fact that we are able to sit here today and talk about questions that were posed to us by our patrons and our friends and our guests. I really hope we get to do this again soon. A couple things I do want to talk about, couple peeks behind the scenes. Did you guys see it? Or as Nukes from Nukes Top 5 would say, did you see it? Damn. Aaron, do a little bit of twirl for me. Do a little twirl for me.
I have no idea how to show you what's on my back. You'll just have to go over to etsy.com/Trinidad.
Damn. You will. And our shirt is updated. It's changed. And I want all of you who love the way the new design turned out. I mean, look at it. You see the logo and the way the sunburst is exploding out of the logo. This is what Aaron and I imagined when we thought of a No Streetlight shirt. This is the kind of concept that we want to embody. Like the show, we look at it as a way for people to learn how to grow. We want to be the light in the darkness, no streetlights, but hey, there's a little bit of light somewhere.
And it's coming from you.
Hell yeah. Shine that shit.
So that is our huge difference from the OG shirts. Our first shirts were Be Your Own Light. These shirts read Shine Your Light in our original conception. Now over at Trinidad, they want you to have control of every aspect of your consumer experience. So they'll give you the option of keeping the original Be Your Own Light or coming into the new Shine Your Light series that we're doing with these shirts. You also get a selection of different shirt types. This is the Canva, I think. I'll have to check that. But tons of options. If you want the shirt that I'm wearing, we'll provide all those descriptions down in the... We'll provide all those details down in the description below. Thank you all for coming on this journey with us. Yeah. Thank you for asking us these questions. And we want to talk about the things that you're facing that you have issues with. In Tim's conception, we're providing tools for you to face every problem that you're coming up against. So the only way that we can address your concerns is if we know them. So please let us know what topic you want us to tackle. We've had one fantastic episode, Don't Be a Creep, that was posed by one of our patrons, I think.
No, it was a guest on Facebook, I thought. Somebody had reached out to us.
It's been probably a year, so...
Yeah, it's been a little while.
Excuse our memory. But yes,
we have veteran brain. It happens.
Yeah, that's big facts.
Yeah, true.
So, as we sign off here, I do want to remind everyone that if you don't have resources in your area, if you haven't found a therapist that's working for you, we partner with BetterHelp. You can go to betterhelp.com/NSLP. It gives you 10% off your first month, and it helps out the channel a lot. But the thing that's most important is that you're getting the help that you need and deserve. And that's why we partner with BetterHelp straight out of the gates.
Aaron and I are all about growing and becoming better. Unfortunately, Aaron and I are not trained, qualified psychotherapeutic professionals or medical professionals in any way, shape, or form. I can stop a wound from bleeding for the most part. Aaron can too. But I can't be the person. I can't be your PhD or your traditional Chinese doctor, right? So everything we say on this show, take with a grain of salt. If you do need help now, please consider calling 911 or 988 for immediate medical intervention.
A huge thank you to each of you for listening, coming on this journey with us, commenting, liking, subscribing, giving us 5-star reviews on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Those things really do change our life. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for supporting with us. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for sharing our episodes with friends. And thank you for reaching out to collaborate with us. These all help us grow.
Yeah. Be good to yourselves and each other.
We love you.
Peace!
Cue
new music. No street lights, but we're shining our way. In the dark, we got something to say.
So take a breath, you're right on time. No street lights, but we're finding our way. In the dark, but we've got something to say.